right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning into the Sports Card Therapist, where I give you a behind the scenes look at my hobby hustle and sprinkling some self care and wellness on top of that. I'm Rob Gerard, your Sports Card Therapist. And whether if you're listening to me on iTunes, Spotify, or watching on YouTube, welcome to the podcast. And this is episode 109. I am actually dropping this a day late. I usually drop the episodes on Monday and Friday. Today is Tuesday, so my apologies for that. Um, but it was a crazy weekend. I was at Hofstra University for the Long Island National over the weekend. I'm not going to talk too much about that in this episode because this Friday I'm actually going to be doing a joint episode with frequent collaborator and Wolfpack member Ken from the Sports Card Lessons podcast. We're actually going to be dropping the same exact episode because we're going to have a very in-depth conversation about what we thought about the Hofstra show, as well as another local show that he went to on Saturday, because I was set up at Hofstra on Saturday. He was set up there on Sunday. And big shout out to John from Behind the Diamond. We were set up in his square as well. So we're going to be talking about the big Hofstra show a lot in this upcoming episode on Friday. So I won't talk too much about that, but I want to just say thank you to all of the listeners. And listen, please, I never say this, but one thing I'm noticing, you know, the count that my streams, my downloads continue to go up. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. Please, if you can just take a moment and leave a 5-star rating, leave a 5-star rating on iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. Like and subscribe on YouTube, please. That goes a long way with the podcast. And just it's something that I really don't mention very much, leaving a 5-star rating or review. But please, if you guys could do that, if every single person that was listening today actually did that, that would like blow my mind. So just please, if you can, that would be amazing. But today is actually going to be kind of a unique episode because today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a post that I saw in a Facebook group that I'm in. So I'm in this Facebook group. I reached out to the guy that posted it, and he said, "You know what? Absolutely. You want to talk about it? Feel free." So this is definitely something I want to talk about, right? And it's about the longevity of the hobby, and basically what this guy said, because I think, whether if you're listening to content or if you're out there, if you're talking to people, sometimes it can kind of feel like the sky is falling when it comes to the hobby, right? Like the sky is falling, people are leaving in droves, blah blah blah. So I want to read this post, and this guy's name is John MCM. So that's his Facebook name, John MCM. So shout out to you for sure. So here's the post. He says, "Will 2023 be the year many investors leave the hobby? This could be great for collectors. Prices down only hurt the short term pumpers and traders. 2023 will be a great year for the collector." So that definitely stuck out to me, that post, right? Because first of all, I think that this has been going on for quite some time. Let's see. Sorry, it looks like I lost a bit of a connection there for a moment. But it looks like and it sounds like prices really have continued to fall. Right. So prices have continued to fall. And I think that it's been good for collectors just in general. For collectors in general, it has been good recently. But from what he's saying and from what I'm hearing people say, um, people talk about how well prices are down and comps are down and cards are down, and people always jump to, well, they're still higher than it was in 2018, 2019. They are still bigger and higher than pre-pandemic boom comps. So that's always been something that I think kind of makes people in the hobby feel good. They have invested money, they have big collections, but from I think what this post is asking is, are we going to actually get back to pre-pandemic prices? Are prices gonna drop and values gonna drop so low that really it's gonna be just be a buyer's market and it's gonna go back to, you know, that. So, one thing I would say is that I hope so. And I hate to say that because I feel like I am a hybrid, I'm a hybrid. I'm a collector and an investor. But I know for me, I'm a collector first. And I know that I have spent pretty big money on the cards. If you're watching on YouTube, the cards that are set up right behind me. I currently own all of these cards. I've spent big money on these cards. And if those values went down, yeah, that would kind of suck, right? Like that would kind of suck. But I feel like if I'm in it for the long term and I'm in it for the long haul, that can if prices continue to go down, I can continue to accumulate cards like this that are behind me. I can continue to accumulate that, and try to take advantage of that. And then, if and when there's ever another huge boom like there was during the pandemic, then that's when I can, make those financial decisions. Like, do I sell? Do I move? What do I do? Um, so yeah, I really just wanted to talk about this thread because there were some great, great, great comments on here. So I'm going to read the question one more time before I jump into some of the comments. And I even left a comment on it. So the question is, will 2023 be the year many investors leave the hobby? First of all, I think many investors have already left the hobby, but this could be great for collectors. Prices down only hurt the short-term pumpers and traders. 2023 will be a great year for the collector. I'm going to read a couple comments. Brett said, as someone who is a collector and long term investor, my approach is simple. I'm consolidating my collection and buying higher end but fewer cards. I figure there will always be a market for goats at the high end. There just aren't many to go around. I'll be buying the dip, and if others are like me, they'll be doing the same, which will keep the market propped up on the high end. And to be honest, I think I couldn't have worded that any better because if you truly listen to what my progression in this hobby has been for the last couple of years, right? Because my progression in this hobby, and first of all, shout out to everyone that I see in person, that I saw at Hofstra, people showing love, mentioning good words about the podcast. I met a couple guys that are weekly listeners. They're from Maine. They were set up at Hofstra, and so I appreciate you guys. And he actually had a gorgeous 1954 Bowman Mickey Mantle, and it was fairly priced too. And I said, you know what? Depending on the show I have, um, I might come back for that. I didn't have a great show, spoiler alert. But yeah, shout out to these guys because I think something that they said to me was, you know what? You are not like a lot of these content creators out here where you're yelling, you're screaming, you're doing this, you're kind of pumping up things and you're driving people in different directions and I hope I'm not doing that. That's never been my intent. My intent really has just been to talk about my journey and talk about the cards. I like to keep it all about the cards and talk about what my journey's been through accumulating those. And if you've been a day one listener or if you've ever gone back and binged some of my stuff, which I know a lot of people do once they, hear my podcast, you'll know that probably all of season one was spent, and season one was like in, probably about 18 months ago it started. A lot of that time was spent accumulating cards. A lot of that time was spent buying up, buying up, buying up. By the time season two came around, I was still buying up stuff, but I set goals and I said, you know what? I think I want to consolidate and level up. Those are two terms that I use a lot and I've used a lot, consolidate and level up. So when this guy leaves this comment on here that says, as someone who's both a collector and long-term investor. That sounds like me. That definitely sounds like me. That's why this comment jumped out to me. My approach is simple. I'm consolidating my collection and buying higher end but fewer cards. I figure there will always be a market for the goats at the high end. There aren't too many to go around. I'll be buying the dip, and if others are like me, they'll be doing the same, which will keep the market propped up on the high end. So, Brett, shout out to you for that comment. I couldn't agree more. And for those of you that have seen me at a show, right, and these cards that are behind me right now on YouTube, right, I bring these cards to shows with me, and I usually have them marked up big time because I don't want to sell them. I'm not looking to sell them. For me, that bottom row anyways is usually just kind of like a show off row. I like being able to show these big cards that I've been able to accumulate, and it's not to show off, so I shouldn't say that, but I do like being able to show the cards that I've spent so much time talking about, because every single card that's behind me right now, every single card I bring to a show with me has a story, and I've talked about that story on the pod. So a lot of times people will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, there it is. There's the LeBron. There it is." And we have a conversation about that, and that's really cool. But what I find myself doing is I've really leveled up into like 6 to 8 high-end cards, right? And because those are long-term holds for me, I've basically had to start over. So, I've basically had to start from ground zero again and start accumulating low-end cards, right? And slowly start that grind again. But it's been a lot of fun for me. It's been a lot of fun. Um, Trying to find good deals on, $30 cards and $80 cards and $200 cards. It's been a lot of fun being able to do that, because, I know I still have some of these higher end cards that, push come to shove, I could always move. But yeah, I find myself making a lot less transactions. A year ago, I would be buying up Justin Herbert XRCs, Josh Allen RPAs, having them for 3 days, flipping them, buying something else, getting something else, having it for a week, flipping them. But I'm not doing that anymore with these cards, because for me, I look at this as I'm a collector and a long-term investor. So I'm finding other ways to enjoy myself in this hobby. If you guys follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I don't post as much on Twitter about it, but on Instagram, I've actually developed a handful of side PCs that can keep me feeling involved in this hobby, right? It's like my primary at the top of my uh, PC pyramid is Hulk Hogan, Mickey Mantle, and iconic rookies. Right? So, like, those are for sure my go-tos. I basically already have that box checked off. Like, top of my PC pyramid, it's like, chances are I'm not gonna be acquiring another 10 to 15 or $20,000 card anytime soon, unless I wanna move another one of those cards, which I don't. So, that leaves me opening up the door for newer PCs. Like I've talked about, I started a John Stockton PC, bought a couple what would be considered mid to high end John Stockton cards, bunch of PSA 10s, and I'm having fun with that. I started a Mean Gene Okerlund WWF PC. I'm having so much fun with the Mean Gene PC. I've been starting to buy up some Phil Rizzuto and some Yogi Berra cards because, I'm a diehard Yankees fan. I have so much respect for the history. Vintage is my first love when it comes to cards. So, what I'm basically getting at is I'm trying to find ways to stay involved in the hobby that are not costing a mortgage payment. You know what I mean? And I'm having fun doing it. I'm finding my lanes, and to me, it's been a great time. It's been a great time. Now, don't get me wrong. I think as prices continue to fall, and maybe they will, and if they do, I think I'm going to start making some bigger purchases at some Grail cards, right? So I can add to my Grail PC, because if you look behind me, those 6 cards, I have the Hulk Hogan PMG, the Hulk Hogan Wrestling All Stars, uh, True Rookie Auto. I have the Mickey Mantle 51 Bowman True Rookie. I have the 1933 Gaudy Babe Ruth. I have the 1957 Topps Bill Russell, and then I have the LeBron Ultimate Collection Rookie Auto. out of 250. So if I can add another card of that caliber to that collection, I absolutely would love to. I would love to. So I'm definitely keeping a close eye on the market. And if the market continues to go down a little bit, then that's what I'm going to do. But what happens is dealers do get and collectors too, but get stingy with their cards. So when the market is down, no one wants to lose money. So they end up just holding these cards, right? They're just holding these cards until the market goes back up. So one thing that you see that happens when the market goes down is someone like me. I'm like, well, I'm going to start buying even more high end because that's what I want. I want to buy more. But the thing is, as the market and the values are going down, people end up holding these cards and they end up putting them away until there's another explosion. And that's one of the cool things about what happens when there's a big explosion in the market is you start to see some of these grail cards come out that people haven't seen in years. So, it's kind of like it's kind of a catch 22, if you will. But so just to go back to this Facebook post real quick that, I just really wanted to comment on. Um, you know, so some other comments on here by Ryan. Buyer's market indeed. Great time for the younger generation to get their collection started. Mark said, as one who is simply a collector since 1973, I cannot wait for the flippers to leave. Jason said, should I buy six to 10 $3,000 cards this year? Or should you buy a single 30K card? And I'll read to you two responses. One was from John, the original author of the post. He said, great question. As always, each card is different. Depends on the discounted price you can purchase in relation to its true value. Either option you mentioned could be perfectly fine. And my response to that was great question. A choice I've encountered multiple times. I tend to always go with the bigger card because if I purchase multiple cheaper cards, my goal would be to move those to get the bigger card anyways. So, another thing that John, the author of this post, said, and this is the last comment I'll read from this post, high end quality Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays will continue to be strong. Only quality low and middle grade examples need to come down. They have already and will come down more. Quality centered eights and above are liquid gold. When you buy quality in reasonable prices, you will never lose. So, just something to think about, and it doesn't even necessarily mean vintage stuff, right? I know in this particular topic and conversation, it feels like it's more geared toward vintage, but I think the same could be said for modern and ultra modern as well. And one thing that I've truly started to lean in toward, and really start taking notice of is except for when it comes to vintage. Except for, and don't get me wrong, the pop report still definitely matters on vintage, but except for when it comes to vintage, because vintage cards, weren't numbered back then. But when it comes to modern or ultra modern, I don't want it if it's not numbered. I really don't. I don't want it if it's not numbered. Even things that are considered short prints or super short prints, the fact that you really can't get a real understanding of how many of these cards were printed because Panini doesn't release those kind of numbers. Our best way of really knowing is by going to like PSA and seeing how many were graded, which is a good indication. It's definitely a good indication. You go to these grading websites and they tell you what the pop report is on like all grades, or what's the pop report on a 10 or a 9 or an 8 or 7, etc. But yeah, so, I think that's it. I think I just wanted this episode to kind of be short and sweet and, um, to think about, okay, if the market continues to go down or stay down, um, really it's been normalizing, because there was such the big boom and now things have kind of normalized a little bit. Um, what are your plans? And that's what I want you to think about. Like, what are your plans? Are you just going to try to sell everything and get out? Or are you going to, try to stick it out? Or are you looking at this long term? And because I tell you what, like, I'm looking to buy collections. That's something that I do. I will buy collections. If the price is right and the numbers are there, I will definitely pay cash for collections because I'm in this for the long haul. I'm in this for the long haul. Even if I can't make money off those collections right now, I know long term, cards have been around for well over 100 years. I've seen cards that you could buy on eBay that date back to the late 1800s, right? So, I know that the popularity, there might be waves in the popularity. It might go up and down and what have you. But just in general, though, I really don't think cards are going anywhere. They're easy to store, and I think they're easy to store. They're fun to look at, and my cards, my PC stuff, the foundation of what I collect, the foundation is nostalgia. And nostalgia is such a powerful tool. So that's where I'm at right now. All right, guys, if you like what you hear, again, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave some comments. I would love to see what you guys have to say in the YouTube comments. I'm always checking the comments. I don't respond to everyone, but I just appreciate everyone that listens, everyone that watches. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at card_therapist, or you can hit me up on Instagram at sportscardtherapist. And again, please go on iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is that you can, and hit that 5-star ranking, please. That helps big time with the algorithm of, just everything. It helps with the algorithm of where my podcast lands when you search for it. And even though I am one of the top podcasts, when you start typing in sports card podcasts, it's still, it helps. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Don't forget to take care of yourself and your collection. Have a good one.